Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the CMA Show. Today is Friday. I'm so happy to be here with you, and we have an hour packed of just a lot of good content and a lot of answers to all your CMA related questions. I'm gonna check in real quick and see if everyone is doing okay. If it's your first time here, just say new in the comments so I know that this is your first time with me during a live episode of the CMA Show. The format is a Q&A for the most part, but I'm gonna address one question today first, and let me show you what that question is. Is the CMA exam hard? This is a question that I get asked a lot, and I did a video on this topic last week, but I want to cover this again and dive a little deeper into, is the CMA exam hard? And if so, why is it hard? And what can you do so that it doesn't have to be as challenging as it has to be, okay? I see a lot of comments coming through. Oh, welcome everybody. This is great. Hello, Kiran. How are you? Thanks for being here. We have a couple questions from Omar, Rahul, and a lot of other people. Matt, this is your first time. Welcome to the call today. This is great to have you. Welcome to the show. Oh, and Omar is new as well. So, hey, welcome. A lot of new people today. This is great. Rahul as well. It's his first time. So that's great. I'm going to move this comments to the middle of the screen. This is great. Thank you for spending an hour with me. Well, at least we'll be here together, spending an hour together, going over questions and answers. But let's go ahead and start with the main question of today. Is the CMA exam hard? Now, to determine that, we should look at the pass rates of the CMA exam, right? And what's cool about this is that the IMA, they publish pass rates for the exam globally, so it's from all over the world. So the industry average for the Part 1 exam is 40%. Can you believe it? It's 40%. Hey, what's up, Joshua? I'm gonna put you on the screen there. I'm glad you can be here with us today. So many new people. This is great. This is great. All right, so Part 1 has a 40% pass rate. That's the industry average globally. Now, Part 2 has a little bit higher pass rate, has a pass rate of 50%. Now, many of you know the statistics already, but for those of you who don't, I think it's very important to understand the pass rates, because then you can plan accordingly and you'll know how much you have to really study for this exam. And I'm gonna dive into why the CMA exam has a low pass rate, in my opinion. I mean, if this is your first time seeing me or interacting with me, I'm Nathan, aka CMA Coach. I've been helping professionals pass the CMA exam for over 7 years. I've had over 37,000 candidates come through my door asking for guidance, asking for help. And based on everything that I know and from the thousands of people that I've helped pass the exam, I have a pretty good idea of what happens and why the exam is difficult for many professionals. So today I'm going to share that with you, and I hope that you will take this information and understand what you can do differently and not make those mistakes so that you can pass on your first attempt. Okay, so about half of the people who take the exam pass, right? That's for Part 2. For Part 1 is less than half. So there are some things that half the people are doing right and half or a little more than half are not doing right. So we'll cover that today. Hello, Imran says, hello, Nathan from India. Hello, thank you for tuning in all the way from India. This is awesome. Hey, what's up, Don? Glad to have you. I'm glad you could join us today. Don is a student in my CMA Exam Academy program. I'm glad to have you here, man. Thank you. Pankaj, there you go. So many people joining in. This is great. Okay, so first I want to talk about why the CMA exam is hard. Let's go with the first thing that I know. A lot of candidates start with the part that is the hardest for them, without realizing it that it's very hard. So as you know, the exam is split into two parts, part one and part two, right? Now, candidates who don't have a strong background in accounting should probably not go for part one first. But the thing is, most people do. And I think that's why part one has a lower pass rate, a lower first time pass rate than part two. As you recall, part one has a 40% pass rate and part two has a 50% pass rate. So if you, so the first thing you have to do is choose the part that seems the easiest or the most interesting to you. Don't worry about pass rates so much, but focus first on what topics are the most interesting and which one ties in better with your work experience, with your educational background. So if you majored in accounting, you should probably go for part one first. If you majored in finance, you should go for part two, because the topics in part two are more finance related. So if you start with that part, you will do a lot better. And then once you gain momentum, you'll tackle part one and be done. Now, if you have an accounting background, then start with part one, because that one will be it's not easier, but you're more familiar with the topics and the content of that part. So it will be a little bit easier for you because you have all that experience, right? So again, accounting, part one, finance, part two. Now, if neither of those apply, then the next thing to do, and you've heard me say this before, is look at the content outline of both parts, okay? Look at them side by side and see which one seems the most interesting to you. Because if you pick a part to start with and the topics are not that interesting to you, it's gonna be hard to build a good study habit. It's gonna be difficult to finish your program, and probably you might fail the exam. Hopefully not, but that could happen because you're not fully invested in the topics, you're not fully engaged in your study program, okay? So again, if you're not an accounting major or a finance major, but you wanna take the exam, then just look at the topics in each part, decide which one is the most interesting to you, and go for that one first. I think that this is the first mistake that candidates make, and they just go for part one without really looking at the content outline, or they don't look at part two either, and so they start with the wrong part, and that can cause them to fail the exam, okay? So that's mistake number one, and I hope that you will take that to heart, and if you have not started preparing for the exam, that's something that you will consider. Hello. Oh, so many more people. This is great. What's up, Nick? Nick is here as well. It's great to see you all. Thank you for being here. Okay, so that's mistake number one as to why the CMA exam is hard. Okay, so the CMA exam is a difficult exam. It takes about 4 months to prepare for each part. It's not easy, but what I'm going to share with you today are the mistakes that people make that make it even more difficult. Okay, so if you apply these techniques, or if you take this into consideration, then the exam won't have to be as hard. Okay, so mistake number two. Mistake number two is that it doesn't happen with everybody, but after speaking with thousands of candidates, this has come up quite a bit, is that candidates don't take the exam too seriously. And what do I mean by that? I mean that they think of the exam, and because maybe they have a lot of accounting experience, or they have a degree in finance or in accounting, they think that they can coast, they can just study lightly and go for their exam, and hopefully they'll pass just because they're relying on their experience. I mean, obviously, good experience helps. Having a degree in accounting or finance definitely helps, but it's not enough. This exam is tailored to management and accounting topics. So these are very advanced accounting concepts and finance concepts. So even though you may have a strong background in either field, or even you have maybe you have years of work experience, it's not enough. It's important that you take a prep course and that you study diligently. So that's what I mean by sometimes people don't take the exam very seriously, because it is a tough exam. The pass rates are pretty low. So considering that, so I think that's mistake number two. Okay, I'm not gonna keep going and rambling on, but I think you get the point, right? It's just take it seriously. It's a very tough exam, Regardless of your degree, regardless of the years of experience that you may have working in the field, take the exam very seriously if you plan to do it, because it is a tough one. But if you start from the very beginning, starting diligently and committing to the process, then you have a much higher chance of passing the exam. Okay, so let me see who else is here. Ooh, we got so many more people. Thanks, everybody. Let me take a quick sip of my coffee. All right, what are you guys drinking today? What are you guys having there? Let me know. I like coffee black is the way I go. Sometimes I'll add a little milk to it, but that's it. That's just how I like it. Okay, so the third mistake that candidates make that creates a lot of bottlenecks in the study process, and it makes the entire process a lot more difficult than it has to be, is that they spend a lot more time trying to figure out how to study as opposed to actually studying the material. So let me clarify what I mean by that. Oh, all right, we got a lot of comments. I'll get to your questions, guys. I'm gonna finish this up and then we'll get to that, because I feel like this is super important and I wanted to cover this today as to why the CMA exam is hard. There it is. This is a question I get asked a lot. Is the CMA exam hard? And you know what? It is. But I'm going to share with you the mistakes that people make so that you don't make them and make the process a little bit easier for you. And also, if it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe to the show. Just click the subscribe button and the bell, so that way you'll be notified when I go live next Friday or whenever I publish a new video on my YouTube channel, okay? So just click the subscribe button and you'll be notified. Okay, so mistake number 3, like I said, people spend too much time trying to figure out how to study as opposed to actually studying. And this is something that I struggled with when I was preparing for the exam. I self-studied. I used the material that the IMA provided at the time. This is many years ago. And I got the textbooks and I got a test bank, and that was it. So I had to figure out if I was doing okay, if I had studied enough or not enough. So I burnt a lot of hours just trying to figure out how to study. And I feel like this is something that pretty much every candidate who self-studies has to go through, because they have to find a rhythm, they have to find a system that works for them. So I think that if you can come up with a plan from the very beginning that you can follow, I think that will set you up for success. If you have no idea how to set it up, I'll give you a couple clues. In my academy, we have a 4-month program per part. So if you plan to self-study, I would also suggest that you allocate 4 months for every part. I know that we can be a little overambitious and try to take both exams in the same exam window. It's a very tough exam, as you know. So trying to tackle 2 exams in the same window will decrease your chances of passing the exam. Now, is it impossible? It's not impossible. People have done it. I've actually interviewed a CMA. She's from Europe, and she passed both parts on her first attempt. Okay, but the way she did it was by studying full time. She took an entire summer and just studied for the exam for both parts. And that's how she was able to complete her program and pass on her first try. So it is possible, but it will require that you study full time. And I know that that's a luxury not many people have. Most of us have a job, and we have family obligations and whatnot. So for the majority of CMA candidates, my suggestion is to take 4 months, because most of us, or most of you now, will study part-time. 2 hours a day, maybe 3 hours a day, right? It really depends. But if you plan to study part-time, then 4 months. If you study full-time, then I think you can tackle it within 3 months. But again, I would suggest to do just 1 part per exam window. It's a little bit of a slower process than trying to tackle both parts in the same window, but your chances of passing will be much higher, which is the goal. Because remember that there's a cost involved in all of this, right? The exam fees are not cheap. So instead of burning through cash, paying for exam fees over and over again, might as well prepare the right way from the very beginning and pass hopefully on your first attempt, and you don't have to pay that fee again. Okay, so again, 1 part per window, 4 months per part, and study. I don't know, if you plan to self-study, I would do maybe 15, 20 hours a week and see how you do after like a couple of weeks, and then adjust accordingly. All right, so that's my suggestion when it comes to that. Nick is a monster energy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think that's your go-to, isn't it? Very good. Very good. At the end of the day, it's caffeine. That's what we need. Okay, so and this is the next one is not a mistake, but it's something that becomes an issue, creates issues when people prepare for the exam, and that is the fear of failing the exam. There is a lot of material to study, and this is something new that most people embark on, right? A professional certification. No one has ever studied this way before. So naturally, it's a new territory, and people have a little fear, or a lot of fear, of failing the exam. Because they know that they have to commit a lot of time to this. They have to invest in their study materials. So they want to make sure that they can pass. But because there's no guarantee that they will, they naturally fear the process. I mean, when I was preparing for the exam, I also had a fear that I would fail the exam because it was not guaranteed that I would pass, regardless of how many hours I spent studying or whatever. So naturally, what happens is that because of this fear, people don't study 100%. They'll study here and there, but they already pay for their exam, so they're going to go and take it anyways because they already paid for it. But because they fear failing the exam, that causes them not to study as much or be as dedicated. So when they go to the exam, they're not prepared and they fail. Okay, so fear of failing is a very natural fear. It's something that I think most of us felt at one point during this process, right? And maybe if you have studied, if you're in the process of studying for the exam, maybe sometimes, you fear of failing the exam. It's completely natural. But just remember to not let that take over. It's okay to feel it and then just let it go, because you can't control the outcome, but you can control what you do today. You can control how many hours you study. You can control how many practice exams you take, right? You can control how much you're able to memorize. You can control all those things. So come back and focus on what you can control. The outcome will work itself out, because stressing out about, will I pass? Will I not pass? And just going back and forth is going to drive you crazy. It drove me crazy for a while, so I know how you feel. But what I'm saying is, don't let that take over, okay? It's okay to feel it. Just remind yourself that it's completely normal. Everybody goes through it, and just let it go. And come back and focus on what you can control and what's within your reach. And that's your textbooks, your test bank, and whatever else you have available to help you study. Okay, so and the last one that I have, and then after this I'll jump into questions, is also a fear, and it kind of ties in with the other one, but it's a little bit different. It's fear of embarrassment, fear of ridicule, because maybe they told their coworkers, hey, I'm going to take this exam, and they are afraid that they're going to fail and come back and tell everybody, hey, I failed. So people might say, hey, you're not that smart because you failed the exam, or yeah, you shouldn't have done that, you wasted your time and money. So there's definitely a factor of a fear of embarrassment or ridicule. And what I want to tell you is that no one has achieved anything by just coasting through life, right? We always have to challenge ourselves and take that step forward in one way or another, whether it's the CMA, whether it's a new job, whether it's buying a house, whether it's going for an MBA or going for the CMA, for any reason. If you want to progress in life, that requires us taking a step forward, maybe two, but into the unknown, into new territory where we won't know what the outcome is going to be. But if you remind yourself that in order to progress, in order to move forward, in order to grow, we have to push ourselves in that direction. We have to push ourselves into new territory. And slowly, you will become more comfortable. Slowly, it will be a little easier. And you'll realize that actually, it's just not too bad. Actually, I can do this. So once you're in there, you'll feel that way. But if you keep yourself outside, then you will always look in and just wonder if you could have done it. And this is a little bit cliche, but it's true. The biggest pain is regret. We don't want to regret looking back and saying, I could have done that, right? It's better to just put yourself out there, try it. Hey, and if you fail, let me remind you of this. When it comes to the exam, if you fail the exam, does not mean that you are a failure. It just means that there are a couple of things that have to be tweaked a little more, and you are a lot closer than you were 4 months ago to pass your exam. So the second time around, most likely you will pass. Granted, you follow specific strategies to help you prepare for the retake, right? So if you failed the exam, I know that we are already in the new exam window, May, June, July, right? This is the second exam window of the year. So if you failed the exam in the previous exam window and you plan to take it this window, just remember that you're not a failure and that you are a lot closer to passing the exam than you were back then, because you know a lot more than you did before, right? You went through the process of studying, so you are a lot closer. Just remember that now for the retake, you have to follow specific strategies and guidelines to help you prepare for the exam. You got to spend more time in the sections and topics that you were struggling with the most. And I think you have a good idea of what those are, because when you went to your exam, you took the exam and you realized some topics were very challenging. So those are the ones that you got to focus on a lot more before your retake. Okay? All right, guys. So that's what I wanted to cover today specifically as far as mistakes and roadblocks that people face when taking the exam. And that's why the exam appears to be very hard. I mean, like I said in the beginning, it is a hard exam. It's hard, but it's not impossible. Again, this is the question that I get a lot. Is the CMA exam hard? It is. But I hope that after what I shared with you today, that you feel a little bit better about it and that you know what to do, or better yet, you know what not to do to increase your chances of passing the CMA exam. Remember, although half of the people who take the exam don't pass the first time, remember that half of them do. So not impossible, right? So I'm counting on you guys that you will be in that 40-50% that pass the first time. And give yourself time to succeed. If you try to rush through your study program and finish it within a month or within 2 months, just because you want to get it done, that's going to be counterproductive. Give yourself time to succeed. I tell my students that all the time, because I have some students who want to finish it in a month. And I'm like, and they work full time and they have kids at home, but they just want to get it done. And I understand that. I appreciate the enthusiasm to get this done. But at the same time, it's like, I've been in this industry for a while. I know how long it takes, especially if someone's going to study part-time. So what I tell them is, hey, give yourself the time to succeed. Because if you don't, it's just going to backfire. And they listen, and then they pass the exam after 4 months. So it works out in the end. But and that's why I'm sharing it with you. If you want to finish this really fast, be a little realistic based on how many hours do you work? Do you have other responsibilities at home? And if you don't, and you can study full time, then by all means. But if you have other responsibilities, take that into account and plan your studies accordingly. All right. So anyways, that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. And also, I wanted to share with you guys that the IMA has a promotion going on right now from May 20th to June 5th. So it's already, so you have a little time still. And the coupon code is IMA50, and you can get 50% on their IMA membership and CMA entrance fee. This coupon code does not apply to the exam registration, which is the third fee you got to pay them, but it does apply for the IMA membership and for the CMA entrance fee. So if you haven't, it's for both or either or. So you can go ahead and use that coupon code on their website, not on mine. This is a promotion by the IMA, so you will need to redeem that coupon code on their site, okay? And you can save 50% is quite a bit, so I'm very happy to see that they are doing that. Okay, all right, this is great. And also, as a promotion with them, just quickly want to let you know that the Academy right now, the program is at a 20% discount, and I'm giving you guys an additional 15% through June 5th with coupon code CMA Coach, and that's on my website. The link is below this video. So whenever you want, if you decide that that's the step you want to take and work together with me, by all means. If not, no worries about it. I'm still here every Friday helping and answering questions. Okay, so let's go to the very top. There are a lot of questions today, so thanks everybody for tuning in and dropping your questions. This is great. I'm going to take a quick sip of my coffee before we get started, okay? All right, so Omar, I'll give you the first question. Should I study part 2 the same way I did in part 1? Or should I do some different techniques? Or should I apply some different techniques? Omar, great question. I'm assuming you passed part 1. If it's not broken, why fix it, right? So if you pass part 1, I would recommend that you do exactly the same for part 2, because you found a way or a system or a method or whatever you want to call it that worked for you. So don't change anything. Leave it the way it is. Do exactly the same for part 2, and you will most likely succeed. Okay? So that's what I recommend you do. Now, if you fail part 1, then that's a different story. If you fail part 1, then I would recommend that you don't go for part 2 yet. Focus on part 1 until you pass that part, and then go to part 2. So that's my recommendation for you. Great question. Thank you. Okay, so Rahul is asking a good question here. So, hello, Mr. Nathan. I would like to know, what are the skills required before starting the US CMA exam prep? The skills to brush up before starting the prep. Rahul, I think that if you have a good grasp on accounting, in accounting concepts, finance perhaps, that is going to help you tremendously. If I don't know much about you though, but I'll put you into different scenarios, okay? And I hope that one of them applies to you. But if not, leave me a comment and then I'll address it again. So if you don't have an accounting background, an accounting degree, you're trying to make a career transition into accounting from, say, a completely different field, what I would recommend you do is to take an online course. There are a lot of free ones out there, just Accounting 101. Or if you prefer, you can read a textbook, Accounting 101 or Accounting Fundamentals, because I think for the CMA exam, it's important that candidates have a good grasp of at least the accounting basics, understanding journal entries, financial statements, trial balances, cash flow statements. So if you don't have an understanding of any of those things or what those things even are, then you may struggle quite a bit with the CMA. So if that's you, then get a book for accounting basics, learn it, and then start your exam prep. Obviously, no candidate knows, even if you have 0 years of experience, or even if you have 30 years of experience in accounting, there's no way that everybody will know, or that someone will know everything that will be tested on the CMA exam. So even though you may take an accounting basics course, it will not teach you everything for the CMA exam. There's where a test prep comes in. In your test prep, you will have material that will teach you all these new advanced concepts, but they build on the foundation of accounting basics or financial accounting basics, okay? So I hope you understand what I'm saying, is that even though you've taken a basics accounting class or Accounting 101 or a refresher course, you will still not learn everything there. You still have to take a test prep to prepare for the exam, okay? But I think that, I think that answers your question. But let me know, sorry. And the other side is, well, I think I kind of covered it, is that if you have a lot of accounting experience, I think you still need to prepare for the exam, but you don't have to take an accounting refresher course. You can jump into the test prep and start studying right away. There's no need to take anything else beforehand. Great question, Raul. Thank you very much. Kiran is asking, sir, after US CMA, can we take CPA directly? Yeah, totally. After your CMA, if you want to pursue the CPA license as well, there's no reason why not to. And actually, if you plan to do that, it's a great idea to do it right away. One, because you already built a habit of studying every week. So if you keep doing that for the CPA, then it'll just be a little bit easier to transition into it, as opposed to if you take the CMA, and if your goal is to also get the CPA license, it's not required, but if that's something you want to do, if you take a break in between, it's going to be a little bit harder to get back into the rhythm of studying. Do you know what I mean? So if you are already in a rhythm after passing part one, after passing part two, and if your goal is to definitely get the CPA license as well, then yeah, I would definitely recommend just jump right into it. Why not? Thank you, Kiran. That was a really good question. Academic. Hello, sir. I like your little image there. Would you suggest pursuing CMA or MBA first? How would you suggest approaching this? That's a very good question. Thank you for asking. Oops. I don't know what I did. Okay. That's a really good question, Academic. Thank you. I think that it depends what field you want to get into. But if you plan to work in management accounting and you want to get into management accounting, I think pursuing the CMA is the way to go first for a couple of reasons. One, it takes a lot less. The investment is just minimal compared to an MBA program. Depending on the MBA program you choose, they can range from, I don't know, $40,000 up to $100,000. So it's a major investment. An MBA program can take up to 2 years to complete. So also is that you gotta factor in time, right? And also consider you need to consider what the MBA is going to help you with. Now on the CMA side, it takes about 8 months to prepare for both parts. The investment is a lot less. It's less than probably $3,000 in total to obtain your CMA designation. So you can get a lot faster, and CMAs command a 6-figure salary around the world on average. So an MBA could also get you a 6-figure salary potentially, but it depends on the industry. I think if you plan to work in private accounting, an MBA doesn't carry as much weight as it once did. I think an MBA is great if you plan to work in investment banking, because I think they need to have an MBA. It's just, you just gotta have it, right? It's part of the recruiting process. But in private accounting, it's not necessary. If you plan to work in public accounting and that's what you're passionate about, so taxation, auditing, and all that, an MBA won't help you much. In that case, I would suggest to go for the CPA license instead. Do you know what I mean? So it really comes down to what you want to do. But if you plan to work in management accounting, either in private industry or in public, go for the CMA or the CPA. Those are my choices. And an MBA, it's not going to make much of a difference because it's very broad. It won't make much of a difference in terms of earning power, and you will invest a lot of time and a lot of money into getting that MBA. So my suggestion is go for the CPA first, go for the CMA first, depending on the industry you want to work in, then get into the workforce, work for at least 2-3 years, and then decide if an MBA is needed or not. What I think is going to happen is that you'll realize that an MBA is not needed. But that's just my 2 cents. That's just my 2 cents. But thank you for that question. Matt says first time here. Matt, welcome to the call. It's great to have you. Thank you for being here. And again, guys, if you haven't subscribed to the show, just hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified when I go live every Friday at noon and whenever I publish a new episode in the YouTube channel. Okay? All right, next question here. So Raul is asking, he has another question. You have a bachelor's in finance from India. Great, that's awesome. And along with a CMA designation, can these two provide job opportunities in the US if you are a resident in the US? Yeah, absolutely, Raul. I think so. Definitely. I mean, having a bachelor's in finance absolutely helps. And with the CMA, you prove yourself that you have a broad, not broad, you have very specific skill sets when it comes to management accounting. So if you're a US resident, you already live here, yeah, by all means. I don't think having a bachelor's in finance will detract future employers by any means. I don't think so. I think it's great that you have a bachelor's degree in finance, and then if you get your CMA designation, that's fantastic. Mano, hey Mano, how's it going, man? He's saying, hi Nathan, the IMA entrance fee update is just awesome. It's going to help everyone a lot. Yeah, I agree. So he's referring to the 50% discount that the IMA is offering right now. And the code, of course, is IMA50. Use that on IMA's website, and you'll get a 50% discount on a IMA membership and on the CMA entrance fee. All right. Hello, Haas. He's saying hi, Nathan. So hi, Haas. Thank you for tuning in. Hanu is new over here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Rahul is first time. Great. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Thank you so much. And I know that you are from all over the world, which is great. I just love doing this live stream. This is fantastic. You get to connect with everyone. It's great. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Imran, he says, hello, sir. I'm from India. Hello. Zainab. Hello, Zainab. Great to have you. Great to have you. Pangach is asking, can we pursue the CMA along with a BBA? I think it's a bachelor's. I think that's what you're referring to. Yes, if you're in college, I think it's a great opportunity to also pursue the CMA. I wouldn't do it until you are in your third year. That way you can tackle one part in your third year and the second part in your fourth year. So by the time you graduate, you will have both exams under your belt, and that will actually help you, I think, in my opinion, will help you land a job a lot quicker because A, you have your bachelor, which is fantastic, and two, you already proved that you have the knowledge of a management accountant. All that's left is for a company to give you the opportunity to showcase your new skill set and to help them grow. So I think if you are in college, the CMA is a great way to, it's really good to also tackle it while you finish school. But granted, that's if you have the time. I know that the IMA has been promoting the CMA in college campuses, and I think that's a great initiative for the reasons that I just mentioned. That gives freshly graduates an edge over those who don't have it and only have a bachelor's. So I think that's fantastic. All right. Don says, pleasure to be here. All right, Don. Yeah, great to have you here. Thank you for tuning in. So Santosh is asking, what is the average salary of a CMA? So it's a six-figure salary, and the IMA publishes a new salary guide every single year. And the average is a six-figure salary. Now, there are many factors that will come into play. One, it depends where you live, right? Which country. Also the city you live in, if it's a big city, a small city. Also the type of company you work for. Big company is a small, medium, or large size company. Your years of experience also come into play. But considering all those factors, regardless, if you are a CMA, you will earn more than a non-certified peer. I think by 22%. So that's a significant difference of salary pay. So let's say that you graduated from college, you joined the workforce, then after a couple of years, you take the CMA exam and you pass. Will you be earning six figures right away? My guess, and I mean, I don't know, but my guess is that probably not. Probably you will need a couple more years, maybe like another 5-6 years of work experience moving up the ladder. So you have a better knowledge and grasp of the different accounting functions and whatnot, but you will be earning more than someone who is not certified along the way. So it's in your interest to get your certification so you can start earning more while you climb up the ladder, if that makes sense. Shalene, hello, sir. Thanks for being here. All right, we have so many questions. This is awesome. Let's see. Oh, Matt has a very good question. Matt is asking, can you talk a little bit about these 10 questions, these 10 multiple choice questions that he read about that isn't counted in the actual exam? Like, what if you spend a lot of time in these questions where you could have spent time on the rest of the exam? Matt, that's a fantastic question. So there are, for those of you who are not aware, let me give you a brief summary. So there are 100 MCQs in your actual exam, multiple choice questions, and plus 2 essay scenarios. But right now we're going to talk about the 100 MCQs only. And you have 3 hours to answer all 100, okay? Out of those 100 MCQs, 10 are not graded because the ICMA are probing those questions as potential new future CMA exam questions. So it's not fair for candidates to be graded on questions that are being tested or they're being probed by the ICMA, right? So which makes total sense. So what happens? The thing is, we don't know which of those 100 questions, we don't know which ones are the probe questions. We have no idea. And Matt's question is, so what can we do here? What can we do so that we don't spend a lot of time in those questions? I think that, so what I would suggest is this. When you open your exam and you start going through all 100 questions, if you skip the ones that seem difficult and the ones that seem that they will take a long time to solve, that will be in your benefit. Because as you go through every single question, you can start answering a lot of them, the easier ones, right? In quotes. None of them are going to be easy, but there are going to be ones that are a little bit easier because you just know a little more about the topic, or it looks very familiar, or whatever. So my suggestion is to tackle those questions first. Once you're done with all 100, come back to all the ones you skipped and start answering each one. That's going to help you finish the exam a lot faster because you'll be done with not done with all 100, but you will have gone through all of them. So when you come back, you can look at the clock and be like, oh, I have X number of hours left and I have X number of questions left. Do a quick math to give you an average and then start tackling them, right? So if you find one that is probably something that you have never studied, or looks like you've never studied this topic, or looks completely like something so foreign to you, my guess is that maybe that question is one of those probe questions. But don't take my word for it. So Matt, you might not like my answer, but all I can say is that do your best with all 100. Just do your best. We don't know which 10 are not tested, so just do the best with 100. If you are running out of time on the clock, you're running out of time and you haven't answered all of them, at the end, as a last resort, just put down your best guess. At least you will have a 25% chance of getting it right. But only do this when you're running out of time. If you still have time on the clock, try to work out the problems and try to find the solutions, okay? But Matt, that's a fantastic question. Probably not the answer you wanted, but I hope that at least I give you a little bit of guidance and tips to help you finish this part of the exam fast. Joshua is like strawberry lemonade smoothie. That sounds so good right now. Sounds so refreshing. So our Pete is asking, will the learning outcome statement help us study accordingly? The learning outcome statement will not help you study per se. It's just a guideline as to what you'll be tested on the exam. You can use that as a point of reference, but it will not provide you with information you need to actually study for the exam. When I was developing my textbooks for CMA Exam Academy, we looked at the learning outcome statement published by the IMA, and we followed item by item, and we wrote for every single line item in the learning outcome statement, just to make sure that my students would have all the information needed for them to study and prepare for the exam. So like I said, use it as a reference, but it's not a guide to actually teach you the material. You will need to buy textbooks for that. Let's see. So Academic has another question. What would you recommend to people who do not learn best or enjoy learning from textbooks to pass the CMA exam? Academic, that's a great question. I think that textbooks are the foundation of really any study prep. Now, other study preps will probably have video lectures, audio lectures. You can definitely use that to study, but I think it's just very difficult to not use a textbook for this particular exam, because there's where you're going to learn all the material. So maybe if you don't like learning from a textbook, that's fine. You can probably supplement it with videos or audio lectures, but I will not skip reading your textbooks, that's for sure. Nick is saying coffee in the morning and at night. That's crazy, man. I'll have a cup of coffee in the morning, one in the afternoon, and I'm good. Okay, so our Pete is asking, what should we do after passing both parts? Definitely update your LinkedIn profile, get your CMA badge that the IMA will give you, update your resume if you're planning to start looking for a new job, or if you plan to apply for an internal job at your company that you can get promoted to. So definitely update those two things and celebrate. Don't forget to celebrate, because after, let's say it took you 1 year to pass both parts, that's a whole year, guys. So make sure to celebrate the big win, celebrate with your friends, with your family, make a big deal about it, because it is a big deal, okay? When I passed my exams and I became a CMA, I took my entire family, my siblings, my mom, my dad, everybody. We went out to a Chinese restaurant. We had an amazing spread of Chinese food with wine and whatnot. We had a really good time. So I wanted to make sure that we celebrated that win, that victory, and I want you guys to do the same, because that's gonna feel really good. And don't wait to do this until you pass both parts. Do this after you pass the first exam. Make it a big deal, because once you do that, you're gonna feel really good about it, and everybody's gonna feel happy for you, and you can take that enthusiasm into the second part, right? Because you've already tasted victory, and that taste of victory, you'll wanna taste it again. So take that into your second exam, and you'll see how much that will help. So celebrate after you pass the one exam, and celebrate again, even bigger if you can, after you pass the second exam. And don't forget to update your LinkedIn profile and your resume if you're planning to apply for new jobs or whatnot. Pete, great question, my friend. Yeah, Nick is asking a question about Section B Part 2. If there are and I guess this could be for everybody as well. If you find a specific topic in your textbook or your study program that you're using that is very challenging, and it takes a little while to get to understand the material, repetition makes a big difference. So go back and reread your textbook. Go back and watch a video lecture if you have video lectures. Take quizzes if you can. Go back to the formula guides if you have a formula guide to that particular topic, and try to memorize. Maybe start by memorizing the formulas, for example, and then start applying those formulas in your practice exams. It might take a little while to connect the two, because you're going from a conceptual to a practical. You got to bridge the gap, and to do that, practice exams and quizzes help quite a bit. So if you're having a tough time with a specific topic, it's totally okay to go back and review. Even if you have to go back and read the entire topic, even if you have to go back and watch the entire lecture of that topic, that's okay. That's part of preparing. So it's better to do it now and get it done well, as opposed to jumping into the next topic and then the next topic and feeling like you don't have a very strong foundation. Because if you start studying and you don't know a particular topic very well, and you're like, I'll get to it another time, and you jump to the next topic, that's gonna become a habit. And then after 3 or 4 topics down, you will have skipped maybe 2, because you were thinking that I'll get to it later. It's difficult, so let me skip ahead to a different topic. And then by the time you finish your entire textbook, you're not gonna feel like you have a good foundation. You'll feel a little bit doubtful of what you know and what you don't know. So you will go back and do it all over again. And I think you're gonna waste a lot of time doing that. So it's better to stick with that one topic until you get it. And once you get it, move on to the next topic, so on and so forth. Because that in itself also will build self-confidence, right? Also the confidence in your discipline, in your commitment to seeing every topic through. Great question though, Nick. Academic is asking, if I plan to study with your program, do you suggest signing up for your CMA Exam Academy as first step to pursuing the CMA? Academic, absolutely. If you would like to take the next step and work with me on your CMA, the next step would be to go to cmaexamacademy.com, choose a program that you want, either part 1 or part 2 or the combo course, and we'll get started with your program. And inside the program, we have weekly assignments, so that way you don't have to worry about, you don't need to figure out what to study or how to study. Like I was saying in the beginning, that's one of the mistakes people make. They spend way too much time trying to figure out what to study, how to study, and for how long to study. In the Academy, it's a guided weekly program, just like a college class with weekly assignments, quizzes, milestones as practice exams, reading assignments, video lectures. So everything is figured out for you. All you have to do is log in and follow it. So academic, that would be definitely the next step if you're ready to take that step and pursue your CMA. Thank you for asking. Mano is asking, will the IMA offer provided for the entrance fee, will that also apply for the exam fee as well in the future? To my understanding, the 50% discount by the IMA is only for the IMA membership and for the CMA entrance fee. It does not apply for the exam registration, and I haven't heard anything about a promotion for exam registrations. I don't believe there will be one. So I think if you want to save, take advantage of the 50% promo that they have going on right now through June 5th. Haas is asking, Dear Nathan, can I purchase the IMA and entrance fee for October 2020? I am planning to take the exam in October of 2020. Will the 3-year period start immediately after purchasing? So yes, so for those of you who are not aware, the IMA membership is an annual membership. So if you pay for it today, you will have to renew it a year from today. And that's just annual. It's one of the requirements to keep your certification and also to pursue your certification and get certified. The second fee, the CMA entrance fee, it's the fee to pay to join the CMA program. And that fee is valid for 3 years from the date that you pay for it. So if you pay for your CMA entrance fee today, you have 3 years from today to pass both exams. And let's say you only pass one exam within 3 years, then you will have to renew that entrance fee, and that exam that you passed will be null. So you will have to retake it again. If you didn't pass any of the exams in those 3 years, then you will have to just pay for the CMA entrance fee again and take both exams. Now, if you paid for the CMA entrance fee and you passed both exams within the 3-year window, you will never have to pay for the CMA entrance fee again, because by then you will already be a CMA. All you have to do is continue paying for your IMA membership every year and complete your 30 units of CPE, okay? And the IMA has a ton of free courses that will help you fulfill those 30 units of continuing education. Great question, Has. Thank you for asking. Oh, so many questions, everybody. I want to thank you for being here today and spending this hour on a Friday with me. This is great. I love doing this this episodes of the CMA Show, live Q&A format. I get to know you guys more and answer questions directly and provide guidance. All right, let me see. We have a lot of other questions. We have 6 minutes left, so let me go through and see what I can answer quickly today. Whoa, we got a lot of questions. Okay, so let me tackle this one from Ajar. Ajar is asking, could you please elaborate about one, what kind of essay questions do they ask in the CMA Part 2? So let me start there. What type of questions do they What type of essay questions will you get? That's a question I get asked a lot, actually. People email me a lot asking me what should they expect in the essay section, like which topics. And the answer to that is, and nobody likes to hear this answer, but it is the truth, is that we don't know. You can be tested from section A, B, C, D, or E, or F. Any of the sections in your exam could be part of your essay question. So trying to guess what you'll be asked in your essay, it's a defeating question. So there's no point in even spending time trying to figure that out, because there's no way for anyone to know. The only people who know are the professionals who write the exam at the ICMA, and they don't tell anybody. They don't even tell the IMA. The IMA has no idea what questions or what's the content of the questions. That's not part of what they do. The ICMA is the branch or the organization within the IMA that handles the exam, and they don't share exam content with anybody, not even the IMA, okay? So there's no way for anyone to know the type of questions you will get in your essays. As long as you study the entire part to the best of your ability, you will be in a good position to answer your essays. Don't forget that obviously you will need to practice taking essay scenarios using your test bank. If you don't have one, let me know. My test bank does have essays that can help you prepare. Okay, so that goes to your the second half of your first question. What is the best way to prepare for the essay type questions? You need to write clearly, so practice writing, practice punctuation. You will not get points deducted if you don't write English very well, and that's because the CMA is a global designation. So a lot of candidates, English is not their first language. I mean, English is not my first language. My first language is Spanish. So the IMA understands that this is a global designation. So if you're not very fluent in English and you don't write very well, that's okay. You're not going to get points deducted. But if you write very well, on the other hand, you will get rewarded. You will get rewarded up to 2 points. So if you have good punctuation, good grammar, a sentence structure, then you will get 2 extra points. But if you don't worry. You will not get points deducted. That's the big difference. And Azar is asking, is it a good idea to take part 2 first? And that goes back to the very beginning of today's question, which is the CMA exam hard? And the first mistake people make, and I'm going to share this with you, Azar, right now, is that the exam can be very hard if you don't choose the right part that's right for you. And what I mean by that is, and I'll say it very briefly, if you are an accounting major or you have an accounting experience, go for part 1. If you're a finance major or you have a lot of work experience in finance, go for part 2. If neither of those apply to you because you have a different degree or you're trying to make a career change into accounting, then look at the topics that you'll be tested on both parts and choose the one that seems the most interesting to you. Because at least you will remain engaged even when the content gets difficult. Because, I mean, let me tell you, studying for this exam is not easy, right? But it doesn't have to be, we don't have to make it harder than it has to be. So choose the part that is the most interesting if you're not an accounting major or a finance major. Great question though, Azar. All right. This is another question. Azar, you asked another great question. Does the 100 MCQ questions, do they all have the same score, or are the difficult questions, do they have more, has more points, in other words, compared to the easier MCQs? Azar, all the MCQs, they all carry the same weight in terms of points. So if it took you 5 seconds to answer an MCQ, or it took you 10 minutes to answer a difficult MCQ, and if you got both right, you will get the same amount of points for both. So that's why I was saying that when you open your exam, go and tackle all the ones that you can the fastest. Do those first. And when you're done with all 100, or going through all 100, come back and start tackling the ones that are more difficult and that will take you more time. This is a great way to finish the exam fast. Great question though. Rahul is asking, can you please answer my question regarding whether CMA is the best suited course for my profile as I am in the field of accounting? Rahul, if you work in accounting, the CMA is a fantastic designation for you. If your goal is to move up the ranks to accounting manager, controller, chief financial officer at some day down the road, the CMA will help you get there. So, and since you already work in accounting, it's definitely a good fit, my friend, for sure. Okay, it's 1 o'clock. I do want to thank all of you for being here with me today. I appreciate your time. I hope that I've answered your questions and you walk away with more clarity and with just answers and actionable steps that you can take in your pursuit of the CMA designation. Please don't forget to subscribe to the show. Just hit the subscribe button or the bell to be notified when I go live next Friday and whenever I publish a new video in my channel. And as a final reminder, the IMA has a promotion. CMA50 is the coupon code for membership and entrance fee. And along with that, my academy has an additional 15% off through June 5th with code CMA Coach at checkout on my website. That's in addition to the 20% discount that I already have on my website. Okay, so thanks everybody and have a fantastic weekend. If you have any questions throughout the weekend or until our next meeting, next episode, feel free to email me, nathan@cmacoach.com. Send me your questions. I'll gladly help you. Don't forget to get also your exam cheat sheet. The link is below this video. It's totally free, has the 9 best tactics to help you pass the CMA exam. Have a great one. And again, thank you for your time. Until next episode.